It's day 13, so I leave behind that rather attractive small village and church and head towards Staverton, which is on the outskirts of Trowbridge, and on to Bradford on Avon. On the drive down here, flooding on the Avon was quite substantial, so what I'm going to do is spin you around and show you our route ahead, which we will not be taking. This is not going to work, as you can see. There's far too much flooding. There's absolutely no way I can make it. So luckily I've got a detour planned. It's going to take us down to the Kennet and Avon Canal a little bit earlier than I planned. But that should be pleasant anyway to walk along there. Head down to the canal. Obviously the water here is more controlled, so there's no flooding, although the water is quite high. So for the next couple of miles, this is what we're going to be following. Okay, so the Kennet and Avon Canal, part of a longer navigable course of waterways, including the River Avon, which runs up to Bath from the Severn Estuary. That's the river we're obviously following. And also the River Kennet, which runs down and joins up with the Thames further towards London. Now this would have been a waterway running through the heartland of southern Britain, a beating heart of transport. It would have meant that ships could avoid travelling through the Channel and round the sort of tip of Cornwall, avoiding storms, very harsh route that obviously can be. Now the two stretches of river were made navigable in the early 18th century. Obviously the waterways were deepened in places and artificial locks were added. The canal itself was built between 1794 and 1810. Now, the canal fell into disuse in the late 19th century and early 20th century, and a lot of this water that you're looking at now wouldn't have been flowing. It would have been silted up, and a bit of a sad sight. But it was restored by volunteers in the latter half of the 20th century, and it was completely reopened in 1990. It's an absolute bustling waterway now, used for many leisure purposes, loads of houseboats as well. So yeah, it's a good place to spend some time, whether you want to get on your canoe or just go for a run like these good folk you can see on the right hand side here. So we've made it to Hilperton Marina, just across behind you, and full of area of housing behind me here. I'm going to call that a day. I've got a circular route back to the car, so I'm not getting picked up. So thanks for joining me on day 13 discovering the Kennet and Avon Canal. In the next walk we'll be heading down to Bradford on Avon, again on the River Avon, so I'll see you then. It's day 14 as we leave behind the town of Trowbridge and head to Bradford on Avon. Flooding may be an issue today. There's been a lot of rain again, and my route takes me very close to the river, but by hook or by crook we will make it to Bradford on Avon, a beautiful little town, and we'll explore the sights there. Bradford on Avon marks the start of sort of paved paths all the way to the sea, or to the estuary down at Avonmouth at the end of the walk. So this is really the end of phase 2 for me. Phase 1 being the source to the town of Chippenham, and phase 2 being for Bradford on Avon, which is about halfway. So we leave behind the canal, head down into this. You can see the river off just through the trees there. There's also a rather sketchy little tent down here, so I hope there's no one in there. Do you know what? The river is mightily high down there, so I think what I'm going to do is head up back to the canal. It's also very slippery on this hill, and I've got to sort of traverse along it. So I think I'll head back to the canal and we'll head down to Bradford on Avon that way. It seems a safer option with the flooding at the moment. And pleased to report there's no one in that tent. An odd thing to do. Live in a tent, middle of winter. Never mind.
So I found another entry down into the nature reserve, a little bit less of a steep hill to climb down. So we're now closest to the level of the river. The canal itself that we've walked along is actually banked up quite dramatically from the river, maybe 50 metres, something like that. But yeah, this was the direction I wanted to take to keep us close to the river, the Avon. So hopefully there's no major issues with flooding. So the water is quite high on this tributary to the Avon, but I don't know what I expected here. I think I expected the entirety of this field to be flooded by the Avon, but look at the distance there. It's the Avon running down there. It's hardly even broken its banks, so I'm going to be perfectly fine to walk across these fields as close as I can, as close as I want to basically, to the river.
Okay, so I leave behind the open fields and head into the town of Bradford on Avon. The River Avon obviously runs through the centre of the town, and then there's very steep slopes leading away from the river. As you can see off to my right hand side here, there's an area of flats, and then the river quite a way below where I was walking. Now this is a beautiful town, very popular with tourists, and here you can see why. Street after street of stone buildings, and a beautiful bridge right in the centre, not to mention the canal, which is also popular as we've mentioned. Now this bridge used to be a packhorse bridge similar to the one that we visited on a previous walk, but at some point it was widened. It's very, very old, and it is grade 1 listed. Now the building we're looking at here used to be a chapel, and then was used for a lockup, a town lockup. Now, just spinning around, we'll look at some of the mill buildings. The wool industry was massive in this town. There were at least 30 wool mills at one point. So this is where the wealth for the town came from. Again, same building from a different angle. Beautiful building, probably converted over into flats now. It's a beautiful place to live. It's only 15 minutes away from Bath by train. So yeah, if you're looking to move to the area, this is a place you might want to check out. Anyway, that's the end of today's walk. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you can join me for the next section of this challenge. Cheers.